Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alex Ekstrom, and today we're talking about my presentation. This is one thing and one thing and only that. One thing is imperialism. Now, ladies and gentlemen. All right, come on. Sorry, I put this in a couple hours ago. Just a little late. All right. Thanks. Okay. Yeah. It's my go-to order. It's buffalo chicken pizza. It's rich in flavor. It's rich in texture, and it's even richer in history. You see, buffalo chicken pizza is so much more than the greatest pizza order known to humankind. Buffalo chicken pizza is a multi-layered, multifaceted representation of the globalization of our world, and the origins of its ingredients are fascinating. As you all already know, the bread always comes first. The bread used in buffalo chicken pizza originates from a northern Italian town who ate the flatbread as a side dish. This Italian town is what started it all. The next layer of the BCP is the iconic and irreplaceable buffalo sauce. Buffalo sauce contains two things: garlic and hot sauce. Garlic, interestingly, doesn't originate from Italy. It originates from Egypt, where Egyptian pyramid constructors would use it to increase pyramid productivity and fight off infection. Unfortunately, the Roman Empire in the second millennium invaded Egypt and shipped the garlic product home all the way to their Italian homeland. The second ingredient in buffalo sauce is hot sauce. Hot sauce originates from Latin America. In Latin America, Aztecs and Mayans would use it for its medicinal and their beliefs in its religious properties. Unfortunately, in 1519, Hernán Cortés, thank you, Señor Ramos, and his Spanish conquistadors invaded Aztec land and took control of the resources, shipping the chili hot sauce all the way home to Spain. Fortunately, trade was very robust in Europe at the time and still is, so it quickly traded from Spain to our Italian town. The Spanish conquistadors found a second fruity vegetable in the Aztec homeland, a fruity vegetable so wonderful that we shun bad films by calling them rotten. This rotten, fruity vegetable is none other than tomatoes. Please don't throw any tomatoes at me after this. Now, tomatoes originated from Latin America and followed Hernán Cortés back all the way to Spain, trading to Italy. We have our Egyptian and our Aztec sauces. We have our Italian dough. What comes next? A food so wonderful that it was cultivated by first humans. Smile. Cheese. Cheese was cultivated upon the domestication of goats and sheep by ancient Mesopotamians. Upon their domestication, they would extract their milk to incorporate it in their ancient Mesopotamian diet. One day, one of our ancient Mesopotamians forgot to put the milk back in the ancient Mesopotamian freezer, leaving it out to ancient Mesopotamian ferment. One day, one of our Mesopotamians picked out the curds that had formed on top of the fermented milk and ate them, giving us cheese. After millenniums of millenniums, cheese traded its way across the globe, eventually landing in Italy. Thus, the base of our buffalo chicken pizza is complete. Only one ingredient is left to place, a cowardice ingredient: chicken. Chicken began with the egg, which began with the chicken, which began with the egg, which began with the chicken, which began with the egg, you understand. But that egg began in India. Native Indians would cultivate chickens using their eggs, and it was extremely, extremely productive for their diet. So, upon the 30 BCE ancient Phoenician invasion, currently modern-day Lebanon, they took control of their chickens and traded it back into European livestock. And one of these European livestock nations is Italy. Thus, in the 17th century, all of our resources had made their way to the Italian pizza homeland of northern Italy, waiting for a culinary genius to put the pieces together. This is the history of cultural evolution. The meshing of ideas and values have shaped the world we live in today. Oftentimes, a means of this meshing is fair trade or discovery, as seen in the buffalo chicken pizza. Unfortunately, however, the vast majority of cultural evolution occurs as a direct result of military expansion and colonization. Historically, this military expansion and colonization looks like the Roman Empire's expansion throughout the Mediterranean, or the British colonization of the world. Today, many of these nations no longer hold these nations that they once colonized, freeing them, eventually allowing independence. Unfortunately, however, these nations were forced to continue to rely on the economic systems their colonizers had put in place, continuing to rely on the exportation of goods to and from their former colonizers. Today, however, nations no longer rely on their militaries to retain power. They continue to rely on old patterns of imperialism and control developing nations using debt. But what do these old patterns of imperialism look like? Well, we can all better sympathize with developing nations by assuming their position. Nice, okay. Now, once you've assumed their position, you have all been elected president of Locationland. Definitely legitimate. Locationland is a rurally populated nation somewhere in the Middle East. Now, Locationland's biggest export is none other than buffalo chicken pizza, and the world loves it. As the president of Locationland, you would love to do two things. You would like to create visible action for your people, and you would like to boost your economy, which will both in turn re-elect you next election. So, what are you going to do as the president of Locationland? Well, unfortunately, the world has got it against you. You are set to run out of buffalo chicken pizza within the decade, which will cause the economy to plateau, crash, and I'll be very sad. Now, you have another thing going against you. The World Bank has lots and lots of loans against you. You're in enormous amounts of debt to them. So, what can you do as president? Well, there are... All right, you just want to interrupt me all the time? Okay. Thank you. Oh, okay, this is for y'all, president. Now, this is from China. Ooh, let's read it. Dear President of Locationland, hi, we're China, and we'd like to make a proposal to you. Sounds pretty inviting, wouldn't you say? We just started this super cool initiative called the Belt and Road Initiative. The Belt and Road Initiative is a new program we started that if you sign on to, we will come into your nation, we'll build you lots of roads, it'll create new jobs and boost your economy. If you sign on to the Belt and Road Initiative, we'll do something else for you. We will assume all that debt that you owe to the World Bank, and you won't be in debt to them anymore. You'll only be in debt to us. We'll just have to tack on a couple more dollars to pay us back for all those roads we're going to build you. Doesn't that sound swell? Well, sounds like you all just hit the jackpot. As president of Locationland, you would love to see all these things done. Building roads will create infrastructure, causing visible action for your people. Boosting your economy, creating new jobs, will in turn re-elect you next election. So, you happily, right back to China saying, we would love to sign on. And everyone is so happy for now. This is the case for 138 nations, all of which have signed on to the Belt and Road Initiative. Many of these nations were once under the colonial grasp of British, Spanish, or other European empires, on the brink of economic collapse. Signing on to the Belt and Road Initiative is a shot in the dark for many nations, hoping that infrastructure construction will boost the economy in time to pay back that debt to China. The current state of these nations can be traced back to the colonial period. Groups like the British would colonize and in turn control areas. Now, these current nations are suffering from lots and lots of issues. So, these 138 nations are welcoming China with wide open arms. These nations are on the brink of economic collapse, holding on to their futures through debt. China is capitalizing on the mistakes of powerful nations and granting them this loan. That is another reason why so many nations, just like Locationland, are welcoming China with wide open arms. Unable to develop an economy that doesn't rely on the exportation and importation of goods to and from your colonizers is a massive, massive dent that has been put in the economy of so many developing nations. Once declared independence from their colonizers, so many nations were unable to develop a large economy that doesn't rely around their colonizers. In the US, we are fortunate enough to have escaped this imperialism, able to develop a large domestic economy that doesn't rely on the exportation to and from our colonizers. Today, we were able to develop a large domestic market that is able to rely on itself. Unfortunately, the vast majority of former colonies were unable to fulfill this, unable to develop true independence. So these nations are forced to sign on to the Belt and Road. Because declaring independence does not free a nation from its colonizers. Declaring independence does not free a nation from the true reliance, not from their colonizers, but from themselves, and in fair trade. Declaring independence does not free a nation of its colonizers. Declaring independence is an important step towards freedom, but freedom in the third world will never be achieved without the true breaking of economic patterns and the shackles that those patterns place on their people. The world must find a way to break these economic patterns so that maybe, just maybe, citizens like us here in the US and citizens like those in nations just like Locationland can all one day, maybe, just maybe benefit from the wonderfully delicious, irreplaceably delicious buffalo chicken pizza.